let's move along here. And we've got a non-hand call here up next. And this is from a sub. And I don't know if you want to give your name out, or I don't remember. WA, we'll call him. Hello, you're up next.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Bart.
How's it going?
Good. I wish I was calling with a different, with a hand history, but
So where are you from?
Pennsylvania.
You're from Pennsylvania, and you were at the series to play some events, or what?
Yeah, I was at the WSOP in Vegas, played a few tournaments.
And you had something happen to you. Do you know when you were in town? Was this like in the middle of the series or more towards the main event?
Over the main event. So towards the end.
So tell us what happened to you.
Yeah. So, basically tournaments were winding down. Wasn't a lot left to play unless I wanted to, extend my trip or something. So I basically took my cash roll on a brief walk from Paris to Bellagio. I was going to play some cash games there.
And how much is your cash roll, if you don't mind us?
Several tens of thousands.
Okay, so consider like 5 figures, right?
Yeah.
Low 5 figures, okay. And how do you, just as a question, because one of the funny things is that somebody actually owed me some money in Vegas this time, and I arranged it where I didn't have to bring money because a very reputable guy, and I knew that he was going to give me a bunch of money. And it was too much money for me to actually carry around with comfortably, and I didn't want to leave the cash in my hotel room. And because I play high stakes, the very first thing that I did, you could anybody can also get a box too, but I wasn't getting a box this time. The very first thing that I did, I actually went to King's and bought a bunch of 5K chips, and that's how I carried around money in my pocket, in my little change pocket, in my jeans, so that, because I had to walk like across the street to Bellagio and I didn't want to have cash. But I just digress. That's just giving you a little bit of clue what I did. But did you have this cash on you?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it. I mean, I usually wire money to casinos into the cage, but a lot of times, depending on who's at the cage, they're not going to let you just take cash out.
Right.
They want you to blackjack or whatever. They don't even like you playing poker with it. So sometimes that creates a hassle. So I usually bring some cash with me.
Well, nowadays too, things have changed. I'm going to just kind of interject with my history with this. It used to be, when you used to wire money to the cage, that they would actually give you chips back in the day in the Rio sort of thing. Now, when you wire money, actually for the first time, they have it integrated with Bravo. You can't take that money out. It's only for tournament buy-ins. So same thing with like if you brought a certified check, because people always ask me, what's the best way to bring money to Vegas? I said there's a couple of options. Like you could go to a local bank and get a certified check and then deposit that into the cage. But now you can't really use that for cash games anymore. They used to give you chips, but now you have to deposit it right into your tournament bank. So that stuff doesn't really help you. So if you're there to play cash games and you have cash, it's kind of, you're in a little bit of a quandary.
Especially if you want to play the bigger games. It's right now it's a little bit of a hurdle, to get cash there safely. And I like to play the bigger games because typically the players at that level are a little more fun to play with. We can get into how poker has changed if you want to, but.
So were you keeping your cash like in some sort of like, fanny bag or backpack or something?
Yeah, crossbody.
Okay.
So basically, your listeners probably know what happened. I'm walking from Paris through Horseshoe over to Bellagio. I detour over to Caesars to check out the high limit room, and basically went with my original plan, which was to play high limit poker over at Bellagio. So I'm walking from Caesars to Bellagio, and I enter Bellagio and take my sunglasses off to put them in my bag, and see that my bag has been unzipped.
Uh-oh.
And of course, I open up my bag, and a lot of money is missing. 3 stacks.
Oh man,
missing from which is about half of what I had on me.
Oh my goodness gracious! 3 stacks, like 3 bricks. Bricks.
No.
Oh, 3 half.
10K.
Yeah, 3 half.
3 10K stacks.
Well, that's that's what I consider a 10K brick. So 30 grand. Wow, that I feel for so I've got a couple of questions. Just, we had this call, and obviously this is never going to be your fault, but we try to, I would like to be a resource for the community. We had a call, I don't know, maybe about a year ago, longtime subscriber Ilya, who we discussed, he got robbed on the way back from a Florida casino, just discussed the different situations and what.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that call.
Yeah, maybe you can do different or something like that. Now, I personally have never transported or walked around with cash like in that manner. Did you ever walk in when you were walking around outside or anything like that? Were you ever like in a crowd of people, like where there was a group of people? Like when you think back to what must have happened, if you kind of zoned in on where this could have happened?
Yeah, so I've been in contact with the detective, so I can tell you exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, seldom in crowds, always protective of my bag. I'm not a very likely victim. I travel the world. I have businesses all over the world. I travel all the time. I'm always, I'm in inner cities all over the world. It's not my first rodeo as far as walking around, with something on me. So I kind of have my head on a swivel, so to speak, most of the time. So that's kind of why this PSA, right? Because if it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. And so basically what happened, and the detective has it all on video. There was a team of 3 people that were clearly pros, and so they all had hats and sunglasses on, avoiding cameras. And the detective can see that one of them from behind. I had literally momentarily put my bag behind me so I could use my phone, and I normally walk with my bag in front of me. For some reason, I put it behind me, which was a poor decision. So don't do that. For literally the 30 seconds that it takes to walk across the crosswalk from Caesars to Bellagio. And so the detective can see one person unzips the bag as they're walking by me. The next person reaches in, takes the cash, and hands it off to a third person.
Oh my God. So when you say on the cross, are you talking about the elevated crosswalk?
Yeah, the elevated crosswalk.
So they have cameras on that? Because I always feel like sketched. So there's elevated crosswalks between Caesar and Bellagio. And then the one that I was doing was basically from Horseshoe to Bellagio, when you have to sort of walk through that exterior food court. Yeah, it always sketched me out, because I'm like, and then that's part of the reason why I bought chips, because I would, in the middle of the night, like there's just this area of concrete elevated crosswalk to get over Las Vegas Boulevard. I didn't know that though that area had cameras, but so at that area, and this was during the day, so there's people, this is where these guys, these professional thieves, stole your money on that elevated crosswalk.
Yeah, it was noon.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it was middle of the day.
And do you think that they were, did you think that they had you marked? Were they following you?
So that's what the detective is trying to figure out. But I rarely flash my cash, you know what I mean, so to speak. Like the only time I had opened that bag in public was at the cage at the King's.
Yeah.
The King's room.
Right.
In Paris. So it would be really difficult unless they just observe that I've been playing in the high limit room, playing blackjack and baccarat, or in the high limit games at King's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Where were you playing other non-poker games, like at Caesars and Bellagio?
Mainly at the Paris, but also at Bellagio.
Because I would think logically that that's where, if these guys had their eye on you, that's where they might have spotted you. A team is looking at guys that are playing like these sort of high level pit, high stakes, like blackjack or pit games or something like that. And if you're carrying a bag on you, it would be logical that if you cash out, because the idea that somebody would do, I mean, I'm just thinking about this, what must have happened logically, that you must have been followed almost, because how would they know that you had any money on you at all, and you weren't one of the thousands of tourists, right, that aren't carrying that much cash and go over that walkway?
Yeah, the only caveat there is that I'm usually playing with front money.
Oh, right. Okay, so you usually have,
and
right.
So I usually just pay back the marker and have chips.
Right.
I do have 5K chips on me.
Right.
They can see that I take 5K chips with me. So that might be what they're doing.
Did you happen to that day, even though you usually play in front money? I'm just wondering, did you cash out for some reason that day?
No, this is basically my first activity of the day.
Wow. And what did the detectives like think overall? There's a chance of catching these guys, or has something when you have a team like this, usually there are similar incidences that happen around that time. Maybe they've been looking for these guys.
No, I mean, I talked to one of my hosts, and he said something like this happened last year at the WSOP, very similar, or during the WSOP. But as far as catching them, it's, slim to no chance.
Yeah. I feel for you. I mean, that just absolutely sucks. When you first realized that it happened, what was your first like react? Did you immediately call Vice or immediately call, the police?
Yeah, so I doubled back to, and I was looking, obviously looking for someone running, and there wasn't anyone. So I went to Caesars, to the security. They were pretty nonplussed about the whole thing. Told me to call the police. Called the police. Police showed up. We went into a back room at Caesars and kind of described what happened. They had it on video pretty soon.
Really?
I would say in minutes they had the video. Based on my description, they followed me all over where I had walked, and then were able to capture the incident. I would say within minutes.
So just out of curiosity, because we always go through this, like when certain things happen inside of casinos, like somebody gets like chips stolen or something like that, players have struggled with the actual casino showing them the video or communication with the casinos. I'm assuming that the detective that you've been talking to told you that they had him on camera. How long did it take for the detective to get back to you and say, yeah, we saw what happened on camera after you reported it?
Well, the responding police officer told me that they had it on camera during our conversation. They called in my description. They searched the video. They found me, and they found the incident while we were still debriefing.
Like they have access to? Oh, because it's not in a casino. Oh, they're looking at the cameras.
It's a city camera.
I gotcha. That makes sense.
Of course, Caesars was standing there, and they're like, "Look, if you need our, surveillance footage, we can give it to you."
I mean, it's just
but none of that really matters because by then they're long gone. The cash is gone.
Right. I just wonder. I'm just wondering out loud, like the relationship between, like, if this had actually happened in a casino, how long the relationship between the police and what they get to look at. Caesar's policy, but because it's city cameras, they get to see it. Like I said, I mean that really, really sucks. And I know I do want to ask you something entirely off topic after this, but is there anything to necessarily be learned from this, or what would you have done differently, or what would you say after going through this for other people that might be in a similar situation in the future?
Probably first would be to figure out a way to carry less cash, even chips. You know what I mean? It's a hazard. And then keep your bag in front of you.
Yeah,
that was my mistake.
Keep bag in front of you.
A momentary lapse of judgment, and
Yeah, and especially if you're outside the casino too, as well. Like, it's almost. I mean, obviously this could have happened in a casino. I wonder if these guys are a little bit like more brazen when it's actually outside of a casino. So I know, just as an automatic trigger in my head, I'm always pretty diligent about this stuff if I'm carrying cash, but especially when I got out into those areas in public that were outside the casino in Vegas, I was just super.
Yeah, just always assume, which is what I usually do. I mean, I always valet park at casino. I never park in a garage, and it's safer to valet. I always, if I'm going to a hotel, I usually double back 2 or 3 times, because I understand, I heard the call that you had about a year ago,
Right.
Guy getting robbed. And that was, I've been doing that for years, never going straight to my hotel. But yeah, just always assume, if you're carrying something valuable like that, just always assume that someone is watching and will make a move like that.
Yeah, it's just one of the hazards of sort of playing poker. Luckily for me, in the 20 years, I've never been followed. Knock on wood, I've never been robbed, but that very well could have just been out of sheer luck that nothing's happened to me. I've tried to put myself in somewhat of a headspace, though, thinking about this too. People react to these things in different ways. You seem to be taking it pretty well, that there's always what I've tried to do mentally is I got to know that there's always a possibility that something like this might happen to me, whether it's a confrontation. Now, this isn't a serious traumatic event where someone put a gun to your face, but there's always that possibility. So I kind of live my life knowing that it's possible that something like this might happen to me. So I try to put myself in this headspace where if it actually went down, I would try to stay as calm as possible. My life isn't worth whatever money that they want to take, but I don't want to have an incident like that be very, very traumatic to me at the time, like coming out of nowhere. That's how I've taken all these stories, that, it's kind of there's a slight chance of it happening, but there's always a possibility. It's kind of a job hazard. It's one of the risks of gambling with a lot of money. And for many, for some of you, if you put yourself in that headspace, it might help if something were to ever happen. But I appreciate you sharing the story. Now, on a lighter note, though, Mr. WA, because you had requested this. Now, I don't know if you had said that you're a recreational player, but so obviously you're, playing some like high stakes, like pick games and stuff like that, playing some high stakes poker. You wanted to give me your take on sort of the state of, if I'm putting this the correct way, like some of these nerdy guys, or the state of how some of these professional poker players kind of acted, right, in the cash games, and how welcoming they were to some recreational players. Is that right?
Well, no, I've just seen a kind of a change over the last 15 years.
Okay.
I would say I've been playing poker for 30 years. Start at the lowest limits and now play high limit. But I think that, the poker ecosystem survives based on recreational players bringing money into the game. And it's, we kind of saw it with the main event here with the
laptop thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Using solvers to win. But the whole smartphone, headphones, hoodies, GTO, don't talk to anyone style of playing. I understand, why they do that. It's not very entertaining for recreational players to sit with a bunch of guys who have nothing to say for 8 hours. And at the end of the day, recreational players are playing for entertainment, and casinos are really great at delivering on that entertainment in exchange for action, and most pro players, I would say pro players at the high limit are good at this. They figured this out. But, I play a lot of 10, 20, 40, that kind of, that's usually the games that are available. And you get a lot of pros that are, doing the GTO thing. Again, which I understand, but there's not a lot of exchange for action for a recreational player. And then, you even see a lot of, I see pros berate recreational players,
That's terrible.
For making a 2-outer on the river.
And I think when you say
that's exactly what you want.
Right. And when you're saying, you could correct me. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but my interpretation by you saying they're doing this GTO thing in this context means like they're being really fucking serious. They're not saying anything, and they're not making the whole experience very welcoming for a guy that might want to gamble. And specifically when you address this in Las Vegas, it's so easy for them to get some sort of gambling fix or their recreation in a different non-poker game. If that's the environment that that the pro poker players are cultivating for these guys, why would they want to play where it's not necessarily fun? And you've been around and you have seen this change, right, over the last 30 years. And a lot of these guys gripe and they wonder why a lot of the higher stakes games have all gone private or semi-private in a casino. And these guys are basically, they're losing out. They're cutting out their bottom line by not acknowledging this side of the live game, the non-skillful side of it, right?
Yeah, because I can go play blackjack or baccarat where everyone is fist bumping and high-fiving and having fun.
Mm-hmm.
The casino only has 0.5% advantage.
Yeah.
Or I can play, poker where probably the pros have me by 2 or 3 or 4%.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not fun.
Right. But it could be fun. You would be okay with that. Even if you were giving up 2, 3, 4%, you might be okay with that if it was a fun environment, if you enjoy poker though, right?
Oh yeah, like there's a guy at Parks where I play a lot who runs some of the higher limit. He kind of unofficially runs some of the higher limit games, and he's super fun. He gets it, you know what I mean?
Right.
And some of the pros there though, they dig in, and it just becomes. So I won't play if there's 4 or 5 pros in a game. It's just not fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not fun to play. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that story. Like I said, I think that I agree with you. It's going to be very, very hard. Even if they were to find these guys, professional thieves usually are professional thieves for a reason, whether they're broke or they have drug issues or something like that. I don't know if there's a way for you to get the money that they stole from you back, but at least, you've come out and talked about it and, try to be a benefit to the community. And I appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Yeah, I'm actually talking to a manufacturer right now about making a theft-proof crossbody bag, and who
There you
knows?
go.
Maybe you'll see it on display at the WSOP next year.
Oh, wow. That quick. Wow, that would be very interesting. Let me know about that though too, if that happens for next year, and we can talk again about it for sure. All right, thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it.